Hi everyone, welcome again to Excel with UT. Okay, now in today's session, it is in continuation to the earlier video on some product. Okay, and as I promised that we will also see the advanced version of the formula sum product. So today in this video, we will see how the formula can be used to calculate more complex requirements and functionalities using the sum product. Okay, so we've already seen the basic version of sum product wherein we try to see the sum product formula. It multiplies cell by cell the values in each cell and then takes a summation in the last. That's how you get the total values of the array. Okay, now let's move on to an advanced setup and see how some product function can be used here. Now, remember, as I mentioned earlier, some product is a very powerful function and it can we can achieve results from this formula which we used to achieve from other formulas like SUMIF, COUNTIF, or even formulas which work on the arrays. Okay, it has functionality which even the formulas like SUMIF and COUNTIF doesn't have. Okay, so let's get down to the data and see how it works in the advanced version. Okay. Again, I have the monthly sales of employees, which who are selling the cell phone of different companies, and it's a monthly data. And we have the price and the quantity. Okay. And we will work upwards towards calculating, applying the different filters we have. Okay. As briefly mentioned in the earlier version, some product also not only it can do a selection of cells from the array and multiply them, it can also do an optional selection from the array. Okay, so when I mean to say the optional selection, what I mean to say by that is, in this array, for example, the employee, you can see we can select the employee A, or we can select the any other employee C or B. Now this is something which we did not have the functionality in SUMIF or any other function like COUNTIF. There we could either choose one, we can either choose one attribute, or we can choose multiple attribute, but we did not had the OR functionality, which is available in this function called sum product, and we can use it. Okay. Now let's see towards the right. I have a requirement wherein firstly I want whether it's employee A or whether it's employee B. I want the count, how many cases of these are there where whether the sales have been done by employee A or employee B. Okay. So I'm just going to take the count of such scenarios and let's start. So we will press sum product. We'll open the formula and we'll choose the first employee, that is employee A. We'll close the array. Now the operator that's going to help us in making the optional selection is plus. Okay. Now just remember, plus is the operator to choose, give you an optional selection, and star is the operator which helps you to make a specific selection. Basically an additive, and is for star or is for plus. Okay. Now again, if you see, we need to choose another employee which is an optional. So again, I'll open the bracket. I'll choose the array again, and I'll give the value equal to employee B, and I'll close the array. Now just remember the the functionality here, it works properly only when you do proper usage of brackets. Okay, since we are entering multiple attributes, it's important to apply the brackets properly, otherwise the functionality will not work. Okay, so let me just close the overall argument of the optional selection in a bracket. Okay, now Uh, I just wanted to know how many scenarios are there, so I can close the formula and see it has given you the result as 5. Okay. Now, if you see, if I want to just cross check, let me just put a filter here, and let me just exclude the employee C, and I can see there are 5 scenarios which I've filtered. This is the exact result which we got here. Okay, so it throws you the number of such scenarios where we apply a filter, employee is either A or employee is either B. Okay, now just to make the scenario even more complex, let's add additional filters as well, wherein the month we give as Jan and the company we choose as Nokia, and see how many such scenarios can some product filter. Okay, we'll just say some product, the employee, will give the value as employee A, will close the array. Since it's optional, I'll say plus. I'll again open the array. Now remember, whenever you choose the array and you put an equal to sign to for some for value, you have to use brackets. You have to close the arguments in the brackets. Okay. Now, since it's an optional argument, I'll also use an overall bracket to close the overall argument. Okay. Now, since we don't have an optional argument, it is something which we want to use with AND condition. I'll use star here, and I'll move to the next condition, that is month. I'll choose the month array here. I'll give it equal to Jan. Since, as I mentioned, since we are using equal to, it's important to use the brackets here. And then again, I need to select the company as well. I'll say and with the star. I'll choose the array here for the company, and I'll say equal to Nokia phone. And then I'll also close this one as well in the bracket. Now, if you see, wherever the array is equal to a condition, we need to close it in a bracket. Okay. Now, since this one, it was an optional, I used an outside bracket as well to cover the other. I'll say enter, and the result is 2. Now, let us check. We'll apply a manual filter here. Let me first choose the employee. So excluding employee C, we had 5 conditions. Now select the month as Jan. Let's select Jan. And even if you don't select the Nokia phone, we only have the conditions with Nokia phone. And now you can see we have 2 such scenarios, which we got as a result. We'll open the filter, and that is what. So this is the count of the employees satisfying the above 3 conditions, and we can see how we can use some product specifically to choose specific conditions which are optional as well as additive and get the results. Okay, now let us take the sum of the quantity for these employees. Okay, let's sum the quantity as well. I'll use the same formula again, sum product. I'll open the formula. I'll select the employees. I'll say equal to employer A. I'll close the bracket, I'll say plus, I'll open again, I'll select the same array, I'll say equal to employee B. Okay, let me just close the overall argument since it's one argument. Let me just put it in an overall bracket. Let me just also, then I'll use the additive condition to select the month, which is equal to Jan. I'll close the bracket here. I'll close the bracket here. I'll also use the condition for company. I'll choose the company array. I'll say equal to Nokia phone. I'll close this bracket again. And now, since we need to have the quantity, I'll also have to take the quantity column, and I'll select the quantity column. Okay. Now, if you see the quantity column, since it does not have any equal to specific uh, option or the value, we can avoid keeping it in the brackets. It doesn't require the bracket. However, we need to close the overall formula, and we'll say enter, and you see the result at 64. So if you remember, these row this and row this were the ones which got filtered as per the earlier results, and the quantity, sum of the quantity is 64, which we can see here. Nokia phone employee A, Jan, and Jan. Okay. Now we can dig deeper and let's see how to calculate the revenue here. We can type the entire formula again, or I mean, if you feel lazy, we can just copy the same formula and change the ranges. We'll just go into the formula mode. Okay. Now see, all the ranges have moved down since we had used the relative ranges. So all you can do is just select and push back the ranges to the exact sizes. Since employee was selected twice, you need to move it twice. All other ranges can be pushed back. If you go out of the formula again, press F2, enter the formula, place the ranges properly, and the condition as well, you can see, has moved down. So this is just out of assumption that you feel this is the condition. Enter the formula again. Nokia phone should be here. Okay. Now, till this stage, we had only covered the quantity. Now, if we want to get the revenue, we need to include the price as well. So it's simple. We go to the last and we add one more array that is for price, and we'll select the whole price array. We'll make it close. We'll say enter, and you see we have got the revenue here for the two conditions. Okay. And now we can further go down to take the average price. Okay. Now we'll select the employee array again. We'll say equal to employee A. We'll select OR condition, open the bracket again. We'll select the array, say equal to employee P. We'll close the array and we also close the overall argument in one single bracket just to avoid confusion. Then we'll start adding our additive conditions. We'll say equal to Jan. We'll close it in a formula, both the sides. Take the array for the company cell phone. We'll do equal to Nokia phone and we'll close it at both the sides. So whenever the array has a equal to sign in it or has a value specific for that we need to define, we need to use the brackets for it. Okay. Now we need to select the price. Since we're not mentioning any equivalent value for price for this array to be equal to, we don't need to put a bracket. We can simply choose the array. Okay. Now, if we close this, this will again give me, I think I've missed one bracket. So this is how you'll get the error. There should be one bracket here. If I press enter, you'll get the average, you'll get the total revenue again. Now, if you just want to take an average of this is simple. You can divide it with the count of the employee, which is 2 in this case, which we had already calculated. If I divide, that is the average that we can get. Okay, so this is how you can take the average price of the employees in this particular data. And you also saw why it is really important to focus on the placement of the brackets. Whenever you have arrays where there is a equal to sign and you are denoting some values for that array, you need to cover that in particular bracket. And when you have arrays where you don't have an equal to values, that you can directly use in the additive sign or the optional sign, that is OR. Okay. Now, how does this work? Let me just explain you. Once you give a particular condition, for example, array employee is looking at the value employee A. For each cell, the formula goes and checks whether the value is equal to employee A. When the value is equal to employee A, it returns the result as true. And when it's not equal to the designated value, it will return the result as false. So it will turn the array into a set of results false and true. Okay. When you choose the formula in the additive way, it also considers the same functionality for the different for this particular array, and it also checks one by one what is the condition here, and it returns true and false. Okay, now when you have true and false and you use a additive operator, that is the star operator converts the true and false as 1 and 0. Okay, it will convert the true and false into 1 and 0. Okay, so that when you multiply it or some kind of numeric array, it gives you the result. Okay, which earlier otherwise if you multiply it with true and false, you will not get the result. So initially, if you see, when we used some product, the initial argument says comma, but if you use a comma, we cannot use a selective array, because it will return the result as true and false, which cannot be multiplied to any numeric array. Okay, so if we need to use the formula in its in its optional or selective selection, we need to use the operator star or plus. So this is how you can use this product in its advanced way. And there can be many more combinations of usage that you can derive from some product formula, since it's a very powerful formula. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments section. If you require any more videos, I can make further videos capturing few more cases for some product. Till that time, see you, have a good day.